Sabko pranam. Good morning to all of you. So our speaker, eminent speaker, Dr. Ashish Kumar Pathak has joined. Uh, so as we were already discussing that he will be delivering his talk on writing assignment and research proposals. So without delaying much further, I invite Aishwarya Shrotia for a brief introduction of the speaker, and then we will move to his lecture. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session over writing academic assignments and research proposal. Before everything, I'd like thank Dr. Rajesh Verma, sir, that he has given and welcomed such an eminent professor from Banaras Hindu University, Department of English, that we are going to furbish ourselves by his speech today. I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Ashish Kumar Pathak, graduated from the University of Allahabad and moreover distinguished himself as the gold medalist of Masters in English. He qualified for the UGC NET JRF in July 2009. He obtained the degree of Doctor of Philosophy on T.S. Eliot and taught as assistant professor in various renowned universities such as Central University of South Bihar, Vasanta College for Women, Rajghat, Varanasi, Patna Science College, Patna University, respectively, before coming to the Department of English, Banaras Hindu University. In addition to presenting papers in various conferences, he has contributed many research articles to national and international journals and published a book on T.S. Eliot. He is currently working on a UGC-funded project on the Natya Shastra and contemporary world drama. His area of interest includes the Renaissance studies, modern and postmodern British literature, literary theory and criticism, European literature and translation, and cultural studies, etc. It's a glorious moment to extend my warm wishes on the behalf of Department of English, Vasanta Kanya Mahavidyalaya, sir. We'd love to hear from you. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, unmute yourself.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, yes. Sir.
Hello, sir. Am I audible now? Okay,
yes,
can
yes,
I start
yes,
now?
Yes,
okay.
yes, sure.
Thank you, Aishwarya, for introducing me to the audience. Good morning, everyone. I'm very grateful to the principal VKM, Professor Rachana Srivastava ma'am, and the head Department of English, Professor Veena Singh ma'am, for providing me this platform to interact with students and faculty members. I'm equally grateful to Dr. Rajesh Verma, my elder brother and colleague, for inviting me to this meeting. And I welcome all the faculty members and students at the very outset. So the topic of today's talk is academic writings and research proposal, how to write academic assignments and research proposals. So at the very outset, I would like to confess that I could not prepare this topic as I had intended to prepare because all the activities from the university side and from other dimensions have fallen together. And after this corona break, all of a sudden, our lives are abuzz with all sorts of activities. So due to that, due to those engagements, I could not prepare it as I had intended. In fact, what I had thought of preparing a small PPT so that students will be able to look at the slides and get very clearly what I'm trying to communicate. So I apologize for all those lacks that this lecture will, or this talk will imbibe. So I'm sorry for that. And without wasting time, I start my talk. I have prepared it keeping in mind the introduction of the lecture, and
Hello, Ashish sir.
am I reconnected now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So I start it now. Right. So before we start talking about how to write good research proposals and assignments, I would like to dwell upon the word research itself, as well as the very conception of DPhil or PhD. What do we understand? Because understanding the very essentials of these words, I think it will help us to understand these activities in a proper way. So far as this word research is concerned, and etymologically, it has been derived from the French root recherche, right? Recherche. Recherche is the etymology of this word, the root of this word, which has been derived from the French language, right? And it means to go about seeking, to go about searching. It symbolizes a quest for truth, right? So all these things are there about the word research. And I would like to share this particularly with students, that have you ever thought that whatever discipline we are studying, be it literature, be it medicine, be it law, or any other discipline of social sciences, why the highest degree has been called DPhil or PhD? The highest distinction in that domain of knowledge that we attain has been termed as Doctor of Philosophy. So, you know how we should try to understand, why is it philosophy? What is the relationship with philosophy? Why the highest attainment in any domain of knowledge has been called philosophy, the Doctor of Philosophy. So there is an evident connection with that. And I think philosophy is a subject that students should be introduced to at a rather beginning level. Especially in India, we find that philosophy has been kept a subject only for higher levels. So I think we need to change this, and we should arouse the interest of students in philosophy, because it is the mother of all knowledge. It is the mother of all branches of knowledge. So I think that we should initiate students into philosophy at a rather early stage. So the distinction with that, if you look at the philosophy, look at Plato and Aristotle. I begin with the Western framework of philosophy. So students must have done Plato's Ion. And when we read Ion or other writings of Aristotle as well, or before him Socrates, right, who never put anything to writing, but later on Plato committed him to writing, and that is how we come to know about Socrates and his writings. So what we find, that the very method that this started, they were concerned with knowledge, knowing about various natural and supernatural phenomena. So when they started it, what was their method? If you look at their method, you'll find it was a scientific method. Today, whenever we talk of research, we say that it is a kind of scientific and systematic inquiry into a particular domain, into a particular area or field of knowledge. So we find it in the beginning in their methods. When we look at the dialectic method, that is the method of questioning something, then all possible questions which may arise on that particular topic, first of all they are asked, then they are punctured one by one until we reach the residue, until we reach the filtered kind of knowledge. So if you look at the early writings of these masters of philosophy, you will find that their very method was very scientific method, and therefore later on when this research developed, how it was related to philosophy, therefore we call it doctor of philosophy. So I think this connection is evident, and modern scientific research that we are undertaking, or modern definition of research that we have, a systematic inquiry into any field, right? There are various steps, therefore it has been called a systematic inquiry. It has been called a scientific study. Objectivity is a part of it. If you look at the methods of those ancient masters from philosophy, this dialectic method is nothing but the same, what we understand it today. I think, therefore, the highest degree of knowledge has been called philosophy, or we know it as DPhil or Doctor of Philosophy. Right. Now I come to the next step of my lecture, which is about writing assignments and how it is related to research. So students are aware of the fact that in true sense, the assignments that we write at PG level or even at UG level, they are mini researches. Sometimes we call them research papers as well, right? So all we need is to develop a bit more seriousness about taking those assignments. Usually, what has been my experience, BHU or at other universities, I have found that students at MA level are very, to a great extent, I cannot say, I do not generalize it, but to a great extent, most of the students take it very lightly. Assignment means pick up any author, pick up any age, write about it, right? So the very purpose of initiating students into research stands failed at that front, because what we usually understand that we have to pick up a topic and from any book of history, from any source, we have to write about it. I have noticed that in most of the assignments, there are no references, there is no proper formatting. So these things are very important, because after students complete their post-graduation, immediately they go for PhD. If you are interested in higher studies, you have to qualify NET, JRF, or that is only a step. Qualifying NET or JRF is only a step in the long journey of academic, right? Then you have to write a research proposal. And we find that while students write their research proposals, they lack many things. Sometimes it affects their, many times it affects their selection for PhD as well. So I think that students need to be a bit more concerned and serious about writing these assignments, that what are the steps in writing those assignments. I will come to you. As I told you that it is nothing but it is a stepping stone for going into higher studies in the realm of research that you are going to enter after your post-graduation. So I'm going to talk about the steps that students should keep in mind while writing these assignments, and later on how further how they can enrich it while writing their research proposals for their PhD entrance or for their interviews in PhD admission. Right. So while we are writing any assignment, first of all, we should decide the topic. Like whenever, and I will be relating each step of writing assignment with the steps of research. Okay, how you can relate it with further researches that you are going to undertake. So in research, the first thing that we do is we have to prepare a hypothesis, right? Research means adding something new or contributing to the already existing body of knowledge or finding something new. Both things are there. If these two things are not there, then this cannot be called a research. And you know, for students, I would like to tell you that we can understand the quality of research that is being done in our country. The reason why most of our reputed universities fail to get a respectable position in global rankings. So the first thing is that very poor research output. In sciences, to some extent, it is okay, but in humanities, the situation is very dismal. The picture is very bleak. So the reason for that the kind of seriousness towards research that we ought to have, but we are lacking there. And it is not only at students level. I'm telling you very frankly, without mincing my words, that this is the problem with faculty members and every stakeholder of higher education, especially in humanities and social sciences, right? So we need to be serious about that. I would like to share one small experience that in when we were students, we always hear in each department there are teachers whose research output is very good. They have published on international level as well. But I think the way they should guide their students at PG level to delve deep into that area of research seriously. I think either there's a lack of concern on their part as well, which is responsible for this. So whatever lies in our capacity, we should try to overcome these obstacles. So look at the first step of writing an assignment. When we like discovering a topic, when you are asked to write an assignment from romantic literature paper, right? So the first thing that you should find the topic, and then you should write your assignment. Usually, what students do, Keats has a romantic poet, Wordsworth has a romantic poet, or poetic diction of Wordsworth, or socio-cultural conditions of the romantic age, or forces responsible for the rise of romantic age, tendencies responsible for the culmination of romantic age. Usually, students choose these topics, they write on it. Many times the references are missing, formattings are missing, right? So all these things are there. So I don't think that in that way you are contributing anything to the existing body of knowledge. And I do not expect that at MA level I should expect students to discover something new, but this possibility cannot be denied as well, because there are various ways by which we can do something new. So before we choose a topic, so I think students should refrain from choosing such rugged up topics like and repeated topics like Keats as a romantic poet or Shelley as a romantic poet, or the topics that I recently enumerated. The best way to do something first is a comparative approach. Instead of writing an assignment on very plain aspect of any writer or any age, I think we should try to find comparisons, right? And we are aware of the term intertextuality, and that is a fact as well. So you can find multiple scope for finding these comparisons. Like I give you one example, very simple example. If it is not that only among the novelists you can find comparisons, only among the poets you can find comparison, only among the dramatists of different ages you can find comparison. Sometimes you may find comparison between a novelist and dramatist as well. Two small Okay, is the connection reset now?
Sir. Yes, sir, you are
Rajesh?
back. Yes, sir,
Should
you
I
are back.
should I
Please
continue?
continue.
Should I
Yes, yes,
continue? Okay,
sure,
okay, thank
sure.
you. So what I was saying, the topic, like Dostoevsky, I was reading Crime and Punishment. And then while reading Crime and Punishment, if you know about that, it is about a protagonist, Raskolnikov, who commits a murder of his landlady. And later on, we find that he commits this murder not to solve the problem of his poverty, but later on he says that because he wanted to be heroic. He is very much influenced by Napoleon. So he thinks that in this world, two kinds of people are there. One, heroic people like Napoleon who have capacity to change the future of the globe. And second, ordinary people who get some job, live up their life, fulfill their social and familial responsibilities, and they end up like that. So he won. So the point is that it is about the murder that he commits, and then the psychological trauma that he undergoes, because he's constantly trying to hide that murder, and other social agencies are investigating it. So the psychological state of Raskolnikov, I found that it has a striking parallel with Macbeth, right? So this is how that while you are writing Macbeth, if you have any knowledge about this Dostoevsky's great novel, so this parallel is very much there. You know, the I mean psychological trauma that Macbeth primarily undergoes, it is very strikingly parallel to the trauma that Raskolnikov undergoes. I think you all students at MA level, by the PG level, you must have read Macbeth. In the long run, if you ever get time, and if you read this novel, Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, you'll find that that parallel is very much there. So that this, I mean, there are many such examples. Look at T.S. Eliot, right? T.S. Eliot's influence on many novelists as well is very evident. One simple example I give. Suppose you are writing on the wasteland. You're writing your assignment on the wasteland. Again, a poem with which I think most of the students are acquainted with. Uh, and Eliot himself acknowledged the influence of Conrad or his interaction with James Joyce in terms of technique, you know, the mythical method. So again, you find, if you read Conrad's Heart of Darkness, you'll find that Mr. Coates and his death, right, the horror, the horror. Eliot once, you know, considered keeping the horror and horror as the subtitle of the poem or the title of the poem. So the theme of Conrad's novel Heart of Darkness can be correlated with the wasteland very well. Right, and so far as stylistic devices are concerned, of course, comparison with James Joyce. So this is one example that I gave, that instead of going for those repeated topics in which there's nothing to new, every teacher knows that so many history books have been written on those ages, on those writers, that there's no doubt about that, that Keats was a romantic and these were the features. So I think writing an assignment on that will be very ordinary thing to do, and I think it will defeat the purpose of you know, making your mind research oriented, right? So whenever you choose a topic, right, always think of these dimensions. Number one, so the first step is over, finding a topic. If you go to higher research, you have to make a hypothesis. Hypothesis is a statement that we assume in the beginning while we are going to do our research, right? Suppose we have to do our research on African novelists. So we always make a hypothesis that this hypothesis I'm going to test. It is very much like the topic that you choose for your assignment, right? Look at the next problem. Once you have chosen your topic, the second step is how to define or redefine the problem of assignment, how to define the content of your research, that what is going to be the problem that you are going to define. And once you are defining a problem, naturally you will find a solution to that problem. Similarly, in research also, we define the problem. Now, what is defining the problem? Defining the problem is like this. Again, I give you one example. I think to that effect, yesterday we circulated an article among the students. Even if you have not read that article, don't worry. I'm going to explain something to you. Whenever you get time and go through that article, I think you will realize my point, that what I'm trying to convey at this level, defining the problem. Rajesh sir, I mean, was this article circulated among students?
Yes, sir. I circulated it and at the same time requested all of them to read. I hope they all have read it.
Sure. So even later on, if they go through it, I tell you what is called defining the problem. So one very simple example I give, that what I have written in that article, I do not claim that it is very excellent article, but yes, it was published in UGC care listed journal, research journal of literature and aesthetics. So how to define a problem? Like this article is again on Dostoevsky. There is a thin novella by Dostoevsky, Notes from Underground, right? So this article is on that particular novel and of course about Dostoevsky as well. So how did I define the problem, right? That novel is about acceptance of evil. I mean, the crux of that novel is acceptance of evil. There are writers in literary tradition who have accepted that evil is an integral part of human life. It is as much integral part of human life as good is. You know, in our life, even sorry, because being in admission committee, I'm constantly receiving calls from candidates, so the connection is lost for a while. I think it has regained. So what I was saying that yes, I was saying about. I'm terribly sorry because I cannot put my phone on flight mode, otherwise this connection will be lost. And sorry, so what I was saying that
Ashish sir, Ashish sir, do you have any other mobile phone where internet facility is there? You can connect your laptop with that mobile, and in the meantime you can switch off your mobile for an uninterrupted.
Okay, sir. So it may take a couple of minutes. I try it with some other
Okay,
mobile.
then we can continue. And if some more interruptions are there, then we can go for this.
I can switch. I don't know how to solve this problem. Yes, sorry. So what I was saying that defining the problem, acceptance of evil. Now, what I found new in Dostoevsky, which is quite different from earlier propositions or hypotheses, that when writers are talking about, like Baudelaire is one writer who has accepted that evil, Flowers of Evil is his anthology of poetry, very well known. Then again, Dr. Faustus, you all have read. What Marlowe is trying to show, that our inclination to do evil is very natural, as Dr. Faustus does. He does not do evil out of any compulsion. He is not compelled to solve any problem to that evil. He only does it because he wills to do it. Similarly, if you have read a novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, there again the protagonist, Dorian Gray, he does evil out of volition, not out of any compulsion. So how I define this problem, that yes, the problem is there, but most of the writers have defined evil. Evil is there because we are poor, Evil is there because something bad happened to our family. It's psychological impact. Therefore, we became evil or we are inclined to evil. But what is remarkable in Dostoevsky, that he is talking about that evil that we do by volition, that we do deliberately, without any compulsion. So this is very strange feature that I found in Dostoevsky, and I was able to find parallel as well. This is how I define that research problem. The problem is there, the Dostoevsky is defining evil in an altogether new way. Even concept of freedom. Dostoevsky's concept of freedom is quite new. So this is how I defined that problem. Once you have defined the problem in your assignment or in your research, the third level will be how to corroborate what hypothesis you have made. I mean, how to support the hypothesis. So detailed writing about that hypothesis, that we call the main body of our thesis, in which we take references from various books, from various sources to support our points. So that is and in that stage, what we do data collection, we testify that data, we evaluate that data, we organize that data. So whether it is scientific research or literary research, right? If we are working on one aspect of African novelists, so to support that aspect, to support that hypothesis, to define or to elaborate that the nature of that problem, we will see various resources, right? One very important step that I would like to tell you that you should undertake while you are between stage 2 and stage 3 of your research, like topic is done, problem is defined, how to organize it. While you are defining the problem, the next related stage is review of literature. We should be acquainted with this terminology. What do we mean by the review of literature? Reviewing literature means, suppose I'm going to write my thesis on Ted Hughes or any other novelist. I'm going to do my research on Salman Rushdie. So reviewing literature means I will explore and read everything that exists on Rushdie under sun, right? That the topic that I have chosen, whether it has been worked on by people before. So I will go to various online resources. We have access to LibGen, we have access to JSTOR, we have access to that database of National Digital Library. There we will find that what works have been done on Rushdie, from which angles Rushdie has been explored, and what I am trying to do, how can I correlate with the others, right? So this review of literature, that what has been written on that writer, while reviewing literature, it is very essential step in doing research, because while we are reviewing literature, we pick up books which can be helpful to us. We do away with books which contradict our hypothesis, right? So that is how reviewing literature is very important. That gives us resources to write on our thesis. So on both level, I think I have been able to explain it. On the level of assignment, you can do. You have chosen a topic. You have defined a problem, that what you are going to do in your assignment, what is new you are going to do, right? And then you will refer to some of the literatures, some of the writers, right, relating to that. You will look at some of the research papers which have been written on that particular topic, and how you can find out. Reviewing literature is something that gives you enrichment. You can get references from there, you can get quotes from those sources. So it is very essential to review literature. Even at PG level, if you are writing your assignment, what you can do, that suppose you have chosen a topic, so look at least 3-4 books of history, 2-3 articles, at least this much you should do to write a good research paper, right? So that is what we call writing the main body of thesis. And again, the next step is very important, that what is the deduction? What is the conclusion that you have reached after writing your research proposal or your assignment? If you are writing a PG assignment, you should at least give 2 paragraphs or 1 big paragraph very clearly to state your conclusion and how your conclusion supports the topic, the thesis that you have made in the beginning. So these are major steps of scientific research or writing assignment, right? And scientific method, you know, there are many other dimensions as well, like types of research: quantitative, qualitative, descriptive, exploratory, action research. But I don't think that I have time to go into those areas. We can fix up some other lecture on research methodology by some expert or later on. So that is how we can look at all those dimensions, but I skip for the time being, keeping in mind the restraint of time and my respect to the time that has been allotted to me for this talk. Another important step, formatting of your paper. I think at PG level, students hardly pay attention to that. Even in PG department of BHU, this time we got all the assignments. And I was very disappointed to get the assignments from PG students without giving any reference, without citing any work. Forget about the format of paper, right? So very small things that students you can learn even at PG level. And because what you do at PG level sincerely, it will help you a lot while you are carrying on your research later on. That while you are writing your paper, your article, first thing, when you write your title, you have got your topic, you have mentioned your topic. After that, learn to write an abstract of your paper. Now I tell you, it is not necessary that you write the abstract of paper while you are starting your assignment. I mean, while you start writing your assignment, it is not necessary to write your abstract right at the time. Abstract is something that I think we always write after we have finished writing our paper. Similarly, you are writing your thesis. So preface is something that we always write after completing the thesis, because preface includes everything that we have done in our thesis. So once I start writing my assignment, I do not know in which direction my assignment my assignment go, or what conclusion I will reach. I don't know in the beginning. So once I have completed my assignment, I will prepare a summary of that assignment in 100 or 150 words maximum, and I will write that abstract of my assignment or my research, anything, at the beginning, right after the topic. In that slot, I think I will write my abstract. Once I have written my abstract, learn to write keywords. Topic, abstract, then keywords. That in your thesis, what are the words, what are the concepts that you have repeatedly dwelt on or repeated in your assignment or in your thesis. So keywords are very important for your paper. After that, you start your article. Naturally, the steps, you know, you write your introduction, you define your problem, that what you are going to do in that assignment or research paper, then the main body of the paper. While you are writing the main body of the paper, remember, if you are quoting anything, suppose from some novel, from some paper, you should always leave the margin of 1.5 inches where you have started writing your paragraph in the beginning, the first paragraph. If you have to quote more than 4 lines from a source, less than 3 lines or around 3 lines, you can keep it in the same paragraph. You have a look at my paper, you will find that if the quotation is within the limit of 3 lines, it is in the same body of paragraph. But if the quotation exceeds 3 lines, it is in 4 or 5 lines, you leave 1.5 inches margin and then write quotation. Then again explain that quotation. So this is very important. While you are citing from poetry, drama, anything, you quote. If you are quoting more than 4 lines, leave a margin of 1.5 inches and then write it in the middle of the page. You can see the alignment as well. And then you will write the work in brackets near the last line. If it is a book, in italics. It is very important for students to learn that whenever you are writing the name of a book, you should write it in italics. If you are writing some essay or article or some poem, you should put it in double inverted commas. So learn what to keep in double inverted commas, what to keep in italics, what to keep in single inverted commas. These are intricacies you should learn at PG level. Then come towards the end. Once you have completed your paper, whatever references you have taken from or whatever books you have referred to, you make two sections towards the end of your assignment. One is end notes and then work cited. If you have certain terms that you think that you should explain in detail, because an ordinary reader who is reading your assignment or paper, there are specific terms that you think that everybody might not be knowing. So towards the end of the paper, you can write end notes, 1, 2, 3, with numbering bullets. You can explain those concepts, and then write in the middle work cited, and then the process of citation. Yes, in every paper, work citation is very necessary. If you submit your assignment without work citation, if you submit your assignment without keeping in mind the margin for assignment that I have just mentioned, I think the teacher will award you very poor marks. So this is something that students should keep in mind. And you know, if you go further in the area of research, you'll find that good journals are very particular about referencing and citation. It is not that you can do it anyway. So you have largely stick to MLA 7th or 8th edition, which is being followed in our universities. And I think this you should definitely learn at PG level how to write correct citations. Like if you look at one example in my paper, if the time permits, just for a while. So go to the work cited section. There you will find that if the author is M.H. Abrams, so we'll write Abrams first, the surname first, then comma, then MH, then full stop, then the name of the book will be in italics. A glossary of literary terms, because it is the name of a book, it will be in italics. Then you will put a full stop. Then you remember in mind, if you do this activity repeatedly, sincerely, citation will never be a difficult thing. It is embedded in our mind that name, how you have to write, the title of the book, then place where the book has been published, it is New Delhi, then which publisher, Penguin, then date 1994 or 2008. So that format is very necessary. That is a standard format, and you should always follow that, right? So this is more or less that I had to tell you about writing assignments and research proposals. So what time permitted me, it is almost time. So with the permission of Rajesh sir, if there is anything that I think I have left in the supposedly incoherent kind of lecture, please let me know. And then if students have any query, they can ask me, and we can move further.
Yes, sure. First of all, thank you so much, Ashish sir. Actually, I mean, yes, you have delivered what we were expecting of you, and we will have some questions here, which I will requesting you to answer. Can you just, okay, that was fine. Can you just tell them about like assignment, and when they are formatting their assignment, you have talked about the drafting of the assignment, how should they draft. If you can, if time permits, can you speak a bit on language also? Academic language. So, right. Briefly, if you can speak on academic language. Yes.
Okay. Sir, thank you so much for drawing my attention towards that paper. I could not dwell on language, but I think that language is everything. You know, one way of defining literature is, we say literature is a special use of language. There's no iota of doubt about that. So the difference between academic writing and creative writing is that academic writing is more disciplined kind of writing, right? And I think that how one can learn academic writing, you can learn it only by reading a number of articles and a number of books. Right. One problem with our students is that in this contemporary time when information technology and technology, this uh, internet revolution has reached its apogee, that this reading culture has declined. All information are available to students in a ready-made form. So they get all the information, but they don't go deep into that. So I think the best way to learn academic writing is to learn academic things, right? To read academic writings. Once you start reading, like the first thing is that students should always read journals. I know that at MA level you will be saying that so many texts are there. We are fed up with reading those texts. What about journals? But my dear students, if you read one article even in 2 or 3 months, you will get to know that how good writers, how mature writers write their articles, right? That is how I learned it. I think after reading many articles now, it has come to our habit that when we start writing, naturally it has to be academic if we are writing academic writing. So I think best thing is that you start reading some good journals of India, some reputed journals, not fake and predatory journals. Don't start with them, but good journals that you can find. I think they must be subscribed by your college as well in the library. So I will suggest students to go to the library and spare at least 1 hour, 1.5 hour, maximum 2 hours. You can read an article. That will be very helpful. And by reading more and committing yourself to writing, students write less. Reading is very easy. Writing is a painful activity. The best way to enhance your academic language is to write a lot. Only after, I have seen scholars who read a lot, but when it comes to writing, they cut a very sorry figure. So the best thing is that writing is very painful activity, but students should adopt this. They should start practicing writing and reading journals and TLS, such magazines. I think that is how you learn academic jargons, and the method of academic writing will be clear to you. So is that okay, sir? I think.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. You have answered pretty well. Ah. I'm sorry, actually somebody was knocking at the door. So now, Ashish sir, if you permit, we have 2, 3 questions here uh, uh, from our students. Hello. Hello. Ashish sir, are you there? Yes, I think you are back. You are connected. So yes, yes, we have 2 questions. So the first question is from Aishwarya Shrotia, and yes, so she's asking, sir, at this post-graduation level, how we can dwell into innovative topics related to the syllabus of BHP. So
I think Aishwarya, while I was talking about how
So by the time Ashish sir gets connected, Aishwarya, I think what sir wanted to inform you that, and he has already mentioned in his lecture about the comparative analysis. Your question is, good, quite good. That how can we really think about the innovative topic when the syllabus is prescribed and we have, poets about whom we have to write our assignment. So it is better to go for a comparative analysis whether it is whether interpretation is concerned or some theoretical framework which you are searching for. And at this point, I must tell that the topic Aishwarya has chosen was kind of a topic where she has tried to study from an anthropological point of view, if I'm not wrong. So, but let me see if sir is still there. And
I'm extremely sorry, sir.
yes.
Yeah, it was
Yes,
again disconnected because I'm receiving a full number of. So what I was
No
saying
issue.
that Aishwarya, as I told you, that one is that comparative approach. That is how you can bring in innovation. Second, theory. You can at this level. The best thing is that you read any particular literary theory, right? And you try to read some novel or poem in light of that theory. That will make it innovative. Instead of picking up one topic and simply writing about that, that will make it, so you make it more interactive, more intertextual, that how poetry can be related to criticism, to drama. This is how you can bring in innovation, I think, at PG level, and that is sufficient exercise at that level. Okay, sir, there was another question I think you
Yes.
were
So
referring to.
this is from Ankita Basar, and
Okay, I cannot see Ankita's question on my screen, but you
okay,
can just
I'll read.
repeat that question.
I will read her
Hmm?
question. So she's asking, sir, regarding literature review, often some related information stays with us, and that consciously or unconsciously shows up in our writing as concept. So regarding quotation, we can use the quotation mark, but what do we do in case of conceptual remaining? Shall we just forego that? So I think her question is clear, sir. That she's asking about. Yes.
What she was saying, that while we review literature, in literature we find many things which we already think, right?
Yes.
About that thing, I will tell you. This is the experience of any sincere reader. If you are reading some novel or some poem or some play, reading really sincerely, you'll find that many points that come to your mind when you read standard works, you'll find that those points have been elaborated by those great critics or people who have written commentaries on that. So I think that goes in our favor. The fact is that what you feel about that, it will be slightly different from what has been written in literary text or literary or critical commentaries on that particular topic. So you write in your own language your thoughts, then you quote from that literature to support your point. I think that is an exercise that we undertake. That was the first part of the question. And second part of the question, I think, what was that, sir? Will you repeat that?
It was regarding quotation. We can use the quotation mark, but what do we do in case of conceptual remaining? Conceptual remaining.
Okay,
shall we just forego that?
you can do for conceptual remaining. The best exercise, you should always mention the name of the author from where you are quoting. So citation is very, what you can say that Terry Eagleton says this about this particular concept, then you can paraphrase. So that is good enough, acknowledging the reference, and that is considered to be a best practice. Many times students gloss over this fact that Eagleton had said something, and what they try to do, they write in their own language. So this acknowledging is expected of you. This is the sign of honesty in your paper. If you have taken others' ideas to support your point and if you acknowledge them, that will be considered a very good paper. But bad practice is that to write about those critical ideas without acknowledging. So acknowledge it, write in your own words. That is good enough. That is equal to proper citation. So no issue. That is what you can do.
So I think okay. So there is no other question. In that case, then I will invite Kanupriya Pathak from BA Honors to deliver vote of thanks. Kanupriya, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for inviting me. So, on behalf of the Department of English, Vasant Kanna Mahavidyalaya, I would like to thank Dr. Ashish Kumar Pathak sir for guiding us on how to write academic assignments and research proposals. It was great having you in today's lecture, sir. As you said, writing research proposals plays a very important role in our selection process, and we must pay attention to it. And I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for your explicit explanation of this topic. We often face difficulties and used to have lots of confusion regarding the proper way of assignment and writing research proposals. And I am sure today's lecture has cleared the doubt of students. So, once again, I would like to acknowledge my gratitude to Dr. Ashish Kumar Pathak sir for exposing his theory of how to write academic assignments and research proposals. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.